Down on his luck, man pays for an old woman's meal at a restaurant where he works part-time. Little does he know, this simple act of kindness will lead to an extraordinary turn of events. The next morning, a mysterious package appears on his doorstep, setting in motion a series of surprises that will not only transform his financial situation but also fill an emotional void he didn't realize he had. Hi everyone, welcome to Mystic Tales. Today I'm excited to share a new story with you. The story begins with our protagonist Michael, a man who had recently gone through some tough times. He had lost his job at a company where he worked for many years. On top of that, his marriage had fallen apart a few months earlier. Now, Michael was living in a small, modest apartment, struggling to make ends meet. His savings were running out, and he didn't know what the future would hold. Michael worked part-time at a local restaurant to cover his basic expenses. It wasn't much, but it allowed him to get by. He had always been a kind-hearted person, despite the difficulties he faced. One evening, as he was finishing his shift, an old woman entered the restaurant. She looked tired and worn out, as if life had been hard on her. She sat quietly at a corner table, counting a few coins she had in her pocket. Michael couldn't help but notice her struggling. Without thinking twice, he decided to pay for her meal. He didn't expect anything in return. He simply wanted to help someone in need. The old woman thanked him with a warm smile, her eyes filled with gratitude. She didn't say much, just a quiet thank you before leaving the restaurant after finishing her meal. Michael went back to his routine, thinking nothing more of it. But what happened the next morning left Michael in shock. As Michael opened his front door the next morning, he noticed a small package lying on his doorstep. It was wrapped in plain brown paper with a simple note attached. Puzzled, he picked it up and went inside. Sitting at his small kitchen table, he carefully unwrapped the package. Inside, he found an envelope filled with cash, a substantial amount that took his breath away. His hands trembled as he counted the bills. Alongside the cash was a handwritten note that read, "Thank you for your kindness. It meant more than you know." Michael was stunned. He had no idea who would send him such a gift. The handwriting didn't look familiar, and there was no name or address. He tried to recall if he had done anything recently that would prompt such generosity. The only thing that came to mind was the meal he paid for the old woman at the restaurant. Could she have something to do with this? It seemed unlikely, but he couldn't think of any other explanation. Throughout the day, Michael felt a mix of confusion and gratitude. He wanted to find the person responsible to thank them and understand why they chose to help him. The money could cover his rent and bills for several months, giving him some much-needed relief. The next morning, he found another surprise at his doorstep. This time, it was a small box with another note attached. The note read, "For you," with gratitude inside the box was a set of keys. He recognized the logo on the keychain. It was for a car. Heart pounding, Michael stepped outside and saw a car parked near his building. It was a clean, well-maintained vehicle that looked far better than his old, unreliable one. He pressed the unlock button on the key, and the car's lights flashed in response. Michael was overwhelmed. 2 days in a row, he had received unexpected gifts that were changing his life. He knew he had to find out who was behind this. He decided to ask around. He spoke to his neighbors, but no one had seen who left the packages. He went to the local post office, but they had no records of deliveries to his address on those days. Feeling a mix of curiosity and determination, Michael thought about the old woman again. Maybe she wasn't who she appeared to be. Perhaps there was more to her story. He decided to keep an eye out for her at the restaurant. Maybe she would return and he could get some answers. A few days passed, and Michael kept thinking about the mysterious gifts. He returned to the restaurant every day, hoping to see the old woman again. Each time he finished his shift, he would glance at the door, half expecting her to walk in. But she never did. Then, one evening, just as he was about to close up for the night, the door slowly opened. It was her. The old woman entered. But this time something was different. She wasn't dressed in the tattered clothes he had seen her in before. Instead, she wore a simple but elegant outfit, her posture upright, and her eyes bright with a sense of purpose. Michael's heart raced as she approached him. He had so many questions, but before he could speak, she smiled gently and said, "I've been waiting for the right moment to talk to you." She motioned for him to sit down, and they found a quiet corner in the restaurant. The old woman introduced herself as Evelyn. She explained that she wasn't who she seemed to be that first night. In fact, she was far from homeless. "I've been blessed with wealth," she said, her voice calm and steady. "But sometimes, I like to walk among people without anyone knowing who I really am. I do this to remind myself of the kindness that still exists in the world. And when you paid for my meal without hesitation, it touched me deeply. You didn't know me. You didn't judge me. And yet you showed kindness." Michael listened in silence, trying to absorb everything she was saying. He couldn't believe that the woman he thought was homeless was actually a wealthy individual in disguise. "I wanted to show my gratitude in a way that would help you," Evelyn continued. "So, I left you those gifts. I hope they would ease some of the burdens you've been carrying." Michael was speechless. He didn't know how to thank her. But before he could find the words, Evelyn added something even more unexpected. "There's more I want to offer you," she said. "But it's not just about money. I see something in you. Potential, strength, and kindness. I'd like to help you in a different way." Michael raised an eyebrow, unsure of what she meant. Evelyn smiled and explained further. "I own a few businesses in town," she said, "and I could use someone like you, someone trustworthy and hardworking. I'm offering you a job that will not only improve your financial situation but also give you a chance to rebuild your life." Michael could hardly believe what he was hearing. Not only had Evelyn given him enough money to get back on his feet, but now she was offering him a job, a real opportunity to start fresh. He had no idea that his simple act of kindness would lead to something so life-changing. "Why me?" Michael asked, still in shock. Evelyn leaned forward, her expression sincere. "Because you didn't do it for anything in return. You helped me when you didn't have much yourself. That kind of selflessness is rare, and I believe people like you deserve a chance." Michael thought about it for a moment. He had been struggling for so long, unsure of what direction his life would take. This opportunity felt like a gift, not just of financial security but of hope. He accepted Evelyn's offer. The job she was offering wasn't just any job. It came with responsibilities but also the promise of personal growth and new beginnings. Evelyn explained that she owned several businesses and would help Michael transition into a managerial role once he got the hang of things. The pay was generous, and it came with benefits that Michael could only dream of before. Over the next few weeks, Evelyn and Michael worked closely together. She mentored him, guiding him not only in business but also in life. The more time they spent together, the more they grew to trust and respect each other. What had started as a simple act of kindness had now blossomed into something deeper. As they worked together, Michael realized that he wasn't just getting a job or money. He was gaining something much more valuable, a meaningful relationship. Evelyn had become a mentor and a friend, filling a void in his life that had been empty since his divorce and job loss. The change in his life was almost too good to be true. He had gone from being lost and struggling to finding direction and purpose, all because of one small act of kindness. It was as if his entire world had shifted. and for the first time in a long while, he felt truly hopeful. But the surprises weren't over yet. One afternoon, as Michael was finishing up his work, Evelyn approached him with a new offer. She told him that she had been thinking about how far he had come in such a short time, and that she wanted to help him achieve even more. "I'm not just offering you a job," she said. "I'm offering you a partnership. You've proven that you have what it takes, and I believe together, we can do something even greater." Michael was stunned. A partnership? It was more than he ever imagined. He had come so far. But this was an entirely new level of trust and opportunity. "I don't know what to say," Michael replied, feeling a mix of gratitude and disbelief. Evelyn smiled warmly. "You've earned it. You've shown not only kindness but also dedication and integrity. Those are the qualities I value most. Together, I believe we can make a real difference not just for ourselves but for others as well." As they discussed the details, Michael couldn't help but reflect on how much his life had changed since that fateful evening when he paid for Evelyn's meal. His simple act of kindness had set off a chain of events that completely transformed his life. He had gone from barely scraping by to having financial security, a fulfilling career, and a deep personal connection with someone who believed in him. But the rewards weren't just material. Over time, Michael and Evelyn developed a bond that felt like family. They had both been searching for something. Michael for a sense of purpose and stability, and Evelyn for someone who could share her vision and compassion for helping others. In the months that followed, Michael took on his new role as Evelyn's business partner with pride. Together, they worked to expand the businesses, but more importantly, they made a point to give back to the community. Just as Michael had once helped Evelyn without expecting anything in return, they now helped others who were struggling. The experience taught Michael a powerful lesson about the ripple effect of kindness. A small, seemingly insignificant act could change everything, not just for the person on the receiving end, but for the one who gave as well. In the end, Michael's life was completely different from what it had been before. He had found both financial success and a meaningful relationship. But more than that, he had learned that kindness, even in the smallest of forms, could lead to the most profound changes. And so, with a full heart and a life transformed, Michael couldn't help but smile every time he thought about that simple act of paying for an old woman's meal.